Have you ever wondered why Russia is so determined to restore the Soviet borders? To answer this question, we must first rewind to the year 1991, when the world witnessed the historic dissolution of the Soviet Union. This event, quite like the fall of the Berlin Wall, symbolized the end of the Cold War era and the triumph of Western liberal democracy. This dissolution wasn't merely a change in the political landscape, it was a cataclysmic shift that saw 15 independent republics emerge from the ashes of the Soviet Union, including Russia itself. With this, Russia lost a significant portion of the territory it controlled under the Soviet regime. This was not just a loss of land, but a loss of power, influence, and a significant dent in its global standing. The Soviet Union, at the height of its power, was considered a superpower, standing toe-to-toe with the United States. It was a time when Moscow commanded respect on the global stage, and Russian influence extended across the globe, from Eastern Europe to Africa, Asia, and beyond. It was a time when the Red Army was feared and the hammer and sickle flew high. But with the fall of the Soviet Union, this image was shattered. The once mighty superpower was reduced to a fraction of its former self. The economy was in shambles, the military was weakened, and politically, Russia was in a state of chaos. The transition from a planned economy to a market economy was anything but smooth, and the 90s in Russia were marked by economic instability, corruption, and a decline in living standards. Fast forward to the present day and it's clear that Russia is nostalgic for its former glory. The desire to reclaim the territories of the former Soviet Union is not just about land, it's about restoring the power and prestige that Russia once enjoyed on the global stage. The dissolution of the Soviet Union marked a significant shift in geopolitical dynamics, setting the stage for Russia's current ambitions. As the dust settled, Russia began to nurse aspirations of reinstating its former glory. The demise of the Soviet Union was seen by many Russians not as a liberation, but as a loss of power, prestige, and territory. And so, Russia, under various administrations, has harbored a deep-seated desire to regain these lost territories and restore its sphere of influence. In the immediate aftermath of the Soviet collapse, Russia appeared to embrace the principles of democracy and market economy. However, this shift was more out of necessity than conviction. As the country struggled with economic and political instability, the nostalgia for the stability and global influence of the Soviet era began to grow. This longing for a return to former glory was not limited to the Russian populace. It found resonance in the corridors of power as well. The leaders of post-Soviet Russia, from Boris Yeltsin to Vladimir Putin, have all shared a common goal: to reassert Russia's influence on the world stage. And this desire has manifested itself in various ways. For instance, Russia has sought to maintain a strong influence over the former Soviet states through political, economic, and sometimes military means. From the war in Chechnya to the ongoing crisis in Ukraine, Russia's actions have often been driven by its aim to keep these regions within its sphere of influence. Moreover, Russia has also been keen on forging strategic alliances with nations that can help it counterbalance the West. Its relationship with China, for instance, is a clear example of this. Despite differences, the two countries have strengthened ties in areas like trade and defense, forming a crucial axis of power in a world increasingly polarized between the West and the East. But it's not just about power politics. Russia's post-Soviet aspirations are also about identity. The Soviet era, despite its many flaws, was a time when Russia stood as a global superpower, commanding respect and fear in equal measure. Many Russians yearn for a return to this status, viewing it as a restoration of their national pride and dignity. Russia's post-Soviet aspirations have been a driving force behind its actions on the international stage. As we move forward in this discussion, we will delve deeper into how these aspirations have shaped Russia's actions, particularly in the context of the Ukraine crisis. At the helm of Russia's ambitions is President Vladimir Putin, a man with a vision of a new Russian empire. This vision is not merely a dream, but rather a meticulously crafted plan that has been set into motion. Putin's ambitions extend beyond the boundaries of modern Russia, reaching into the territories of the former Soviet Union. His strategy is driven by an alternative interpretation of history. Putin's historical narrative diverges from the established consensus, painting a picture where Russia is the rightful heir to the lands of the former Soviet Union. One of the most striking examples of this is the ongoing situation in Ukraine. Putin's narrative of history has been used to rationalize the invasion of this sovereign nation. His argument is rooted in the belief that Ukraine and Russia share a deep historical bond that legitimizes Russia's claim over the territory. But Putin's vision extends beyond the physical landscape. He seeks to cultivate a new Russian identity, one that is deeply entwined with the glory of the past Soviet era. Yet this vision of a new Russian empire is not without its challenges. The international community has responded with economic sanctions and political isolation. Even within Russia, there are those who question the cost of these imperial ambitions. Despite these hurdles, Putin remains steadfast in his pursuit. He seems willing to pay the price both domestically and internationally to see his vision of a new Russian empire come to fruition. However, it's important to note that this vision isn't just about Putin. It also reflects a broader sentiment among many Russians who yearn for a return to the days of superpower status. This nostalgia for a past era of glory fuels the drive for a new Russian empire and lends support to Putin's ambitions. Putin's vision of a new Russian empire has significant implications for regional stability. The international community, and particularly the nations bordering Russia, must navigate this complex and evolving landscape with caution and vigilance. The Ukraine crisis is a clear example of Russia's territorial ambitions. A complex mix of historical tensions, political maneuverings, and territorial disputes, the crisis has become a focal point of global attention. Russia's involvement in Ukraine is viewed by many as an attempt to re-establish its influence over former Soviet territories, echoing the desires of President Putin for a new Russian empire. Let's delve a little deeper. Russia's justification for its actions in Ukraine is rooted in a revisionist interpretation of history, a perspective that paints Ukraine as an integral part of Russia's cultural and historical landscape. However, this view is not universally accepted and has been met with resistance, both within Ukraine and on the international stage. The crisis took a dramatic turn when Ukrainian President Zelensky confirmed that Ukrainian troops had made a cross-border incursion into the Kursk region of Russia. This unprecedented action marked the first time regular Ukrainian and special operations units had entered Russian territory and proved to be a significant win for Ukraine amidst the ongoing conflict. The response from Russia was swift and severe. Authorities imposed a counter-terror operation, evacuating tens of thousands of people, and retaliated with drone and missile attacks on Ukraine's capital, Kiev. The United Nations reported a spike in civilian casualties, making July the deadliest month since October 2022. Internationally, the crisis has strained relations between Russia and the West. The United States and its allies have imposed sanctions on Russia, a move which has only served to push Russia closer to other international partners, notably China. Despite China's reluctance to provide direct military support to Russia, economic ties between the two nations have strengthened in the face of Western sanctions. The Ukraine crisis is a stark reminder of the lengths Russia will go to restore its Soviet borders. As the crisis continues to unfold, the world watches, waits, and wonders what the future holds for Ukraine, Russia, and the balance of global power. As the world watches with bated breath, what are the implications of Russia's territorial ambitions? We are living in a time of shifting global power dynamics. The current situation in Ukraine has not only brought back haunting memories of the Cold War era, but it's also offering a glimpse into a future where alliances are being redrawn and new world orders are being contemplated. Russia's strategic move to restore its Soviet borders is not just a nostalgic longing for a bygone era, it's a calculated attempt to regain its lost status as a global superpower. This ambition is being pursued at a high cost, with the peace and stability of the region hanging in the balance. The role of global superpowers, particularly the United States and China, is crucial in this unfolding drama. The US, standing firm with its Western allies, has imposed sanctions on Russia, attempting to cripple its economy and deter its territorial expansion. But the effectiveness of these sanctions is yet to be seen. On the other hand, China, Russia's key international partner, seems to be playing a dual role. While it stops short of providing direct military support, it has been strengthening its economic ties with Russia. This alliance, forged in the face of Western sanctions, could potentially lead to a new axis of power. The implications of Russia's actions extend far beyond its immediate geographical sphere. If Russia succeeds in its endeavor, it could set a dangerous precedent for other nations with similar aspirations, potentially destabilizing the international order. Furthermore, the shift in alliances and the realignment of global powers could have far-reaching impacts on international politics, economy, and security. But the situation is far from settled. As Ukrainian President Zelensky pushes for a peace summit and Ukrainian troops make surprise incursions into Russian territory, the world waits to see how this high-stakes geopolitical chess game will play out. The restoration of Soviet borders is more than a nostalgic desire for Russia. It's a strategic move that could reshape the world as we know it.